of the Lisa Pezik Show. So excited today to have a fellow dame with me. If you don't know, I'm growing the Southern Ontario chapter of the Dames. 6- and 7-figure women who are kicking butt and are generous and joyful and smart about the way that we're doing business. And I'm so excited to have her here today because that's what we're talking about. Smart business, how to work smarter, not necessarily harder, and to make sure that your systems and your strategies and your business is lean. A lean, money-making, impact-making machine that you want to get up for every day and that you're building it the way you envisioned it. Because how many of us have had this grand vision for our business, got in there and then went, wait a second, is this what this is supposed to look like? Is this what this is supposed to feel like? So I'm so excited today to have Crista Grasso with us. Crista, welcome!
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here today and to be chatting with a fellow dame.
Oh my goodness. And we were like chatting for a solid 42 minutes before I actually hit record because I feel like, Crista, I've known you like my whole life and just validating about business and life and business decisions. And, that's why it's so important to collaborate with people and to get on with people because you learn so much. And I'm just so excited that you're here today. So let me tell you about her. So she is a lean business consultant, creator of the Lean Out Method, and host of the Lean Out Your Business podcast. She's been helping businesses achieve accelerated results, increased profitability for 2 decades through a combination of strategic planning and lean business practices, known as the business optimizer. Ooh, I love that. Crista has the ability to quickly cut through the noise and focus on optimizing the core things that will make the biggest impact to grow and scale a business. And you specialize in helping businesses identify the most important things they should focus on right now that will drive maximum value for their customers and maximum profits for their business. Yes, yes, and yes. Okay, so where did this lean out method come from? Or how did you have this aha that you're like, no one's doing it this way and I think I need to do it this way? Where did that come from?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll give you a little bit of my history. So when I was younger, wanted to be in the area of something artistic. I wanted to either be a photographer or a jewelry designer or something. And I was doing that in college for a while. And then I got the thought, if I'm going to be working for myself and basically being an entrepreneur, I really should understand business so that I can build a successful business. And I went and I got a degree in business. So I graduated with this degree in business. And my plan had always still been to do my own creative thing, which I do have a jewelry business today. And so I'm trying to find a job. I didn't really know what I was looking for. I just kind of got the degree to, help me with my jewelry business. And at the time I was managing a Starbucks, and my morning customer, one of my regular morning customers from Starbucks, pulls me aside one morning and says, "Why are you here? Like, what is it that you really want to be doing?" And so I'm explaining it to him. And I'm like, "Well, I just graduated and I'm not really sure what to be looking for." And long story short, and he says, "Well, I've got this amazing opportunity. I'd love to have you join." He said, "But the only way to get you to start, like I really could use you tomorrow, is if you come in as a consultant." I honestly didn't even know what consulting was. I was like, job, yes, I'll take it. Great. Right. And so I started the next day. It was amazing. And the company that I started with did lean. They were really big into lean manufacturing. So I feel like my journey started a little bit accidentally. And over the years, I fell completely in love with lean. I loved everything about it. And so I continued to do that. I continued to consult for a really long time. And in parallel, I launched my jewelry business. And I ended up through a series of newbie type of experiences, almost putting myself out of business. I scaled way too quickly. I went into way too much debt. I was really overworked. I was super overwhelmed. I was very almost on the verge of burnout. And it struck me one day, I was like, why am I having all these struggles in my business? Yet all these businesses that I'm consulting with are having absolutely amazing results. And I realized I'm not applying the same lean practices in my own business that I'm helping them apply. And I made a mistake that I think a lot of people do. And it's you look at this really big business and you think, oh, well, I only have this small little business. I'm an entrepreneur, or my business isn't like theirs. So therefore, it doesn't apply to me. Meanwhile, did I implement it exactly the way that they did? No, it wouldn't have made sense. But if you look at the principles of eliminate waste, eliminate everything that's not adding value, right? And really improve the value and the quality, who doesn't want that and who doesn't need that in their business? So I just looked at my business through completely fresh eyes and said, if I were starting this today, what would I do? What can I lean out? Like, what can I get rid of that's not adding value, not adding profit? And what can I do to really increase the value and the quality at the same time? And after using that in my own business and seeing so many other businesses around me go out of business, and then people asking me, what are you doing? And starting to use it with them. And now I work with coaches and consultants, but early on I worked with mostly businesses in the fashion space. And it just evolved and grew from there. So it came out of necessity, if you will, to keep my own business alive. And then it just became something that was so impactful for all of the businesses that I helped.
Oh, I love that you talked about eliminating waste and increasing quality and value. And it's funny that you said it like it was right there in front of you. You were teaching it, but you weren't doing it. And sometimes it's so hard when we don't see it. We don't see it when we're in it. And we think that like, oh, I'm doing this the right way, or this is the way it's got to be done, when in fact there are other ways. And you answered my next question, which was, how do you know if your business isn't lean? And you were saying you were overworked, you scaled too quickly. So what are the other ways that you know, like, oh, okay, I think my business is lean, or I thought my business is lean, but actually it's not. What are those things?
Yeah. So a lean business is one where you're doing the things that matter most and you're not spending your time on anything else, really. And so if you think about your own business, the work that you're doing, are the things that you're doing, does it fuel you or does it drain you? And so if you're spending your time doing things that drain you, there's an opportunity to lean out, right? When you look at your offers, is it really super crystal clear to your clients what you do and what you help them with? Do you have a really clearly defined offer suite, or do you have 400 different things that you offer and you're constantly changing things and it's hard to maintain, and it's also super confusing for your customers who are like, I thought she did this, but now she does this. Which package makes sense, right? And so that's usually an indicator that there's some opportunity to lean out. Are you on every single channel known to man? You're trying Clubhouse in the morning, and then you're going to Pinterest, and then you're doing Reels, and then you're doing this, that, and the other thing, and you're kind of all over the place, but you don't have a giant team and you're not really getting the results from each one of them, right? That's an opportunity that you can lean out. So really, when you look at your business and having that truly lean business, you're super clear on who you serve. You have a really clear offer or offer suite. And there's usually some form of ascension associated with it. So you know how people, you know your customer journey, and you meet people where you need to on your customer journey. You personally are doing the things that align with your zone of genius or your unique strengths. And you've got an amazing rock star team around you who's playing in their own zone of geniuses. And together you've got that real ecosystem for success. You're not overworked. You're not overwhelmed. You're not working 24/7. You're not what I call trading today for tomorrow. Like, I'm just going to work really hard right now because once I get here, everything's going to be great. And it's not the way that it works. We all learn the hard way. You want to provide an amazing experience for your clients. You want to provide an amazing transformation and results for them. And you want to love doing it. And so if you're not fully 100% there, there's always opportunities to lean out your business.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Whoa. Hey, time out. This is so good. I got to go back. Okay. So the first thing, it sounds like you got to be clear. You said clear on who you serve, clear on your offer suite. Yes, yes, and yes. You can, and that it's an ecosystem for success. Mm-hmm. God, I love you. God, I love that you said that. It's so true. we get that all the time where people come to us and they're like, well, I have this book and I have this membership and I have this course and I have this opt-in and I have this thing. And oh, I did that thing 20 years ago, but I think I still want to keep it because it might serve this one group of people. And we're like, wow, so you're really exhausted and you're really burnt out, but where's the strategy? Nothing is working. So a lot of times people come to us because they want to build something new because they're so excited, yet they already have 100 different things, but they're not clear on how it all works together, or if they even need it, or if they even like it. So that's one thing, yes. And then, oh my gosh, that's why people hire us too, because I'm like, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Just because you can create the most wonderful Canva graphics, like you said, staying in your zone of genius, should you be doing that? Just because you can code your website or write your own copy, should you be doing that? No. Do you enjoy that? Do you enjoy doing, well, no, I just pause, delegate. So I love all these things that you're talking about, but the most impactful thing you said was not trading today for tomorrow. Ooh, where did you have that was that a realization that you had, or where did that line come from?
Yeah, this is something I will say I've just started randomly saying in the past few weeks. I don't know where it came from, just started coming. Actually, it's up on a sticky note on my whiteboard. And I was like, I barely remember saying that. But, I'll share a little bit of my own journey. So on New Year's Eve of 2019, I found out that I had breast cancer. And I'm actually fine. Everything's great. I went through my treatments. I'm all healthy. Everything's fine. But afterwards, I was like, you always hear of these people who have these near-death experiences or things, and they have this big life epiphany. And I don't feel like I had a big life epiphany. I feel like I'm doing what I always wanted to do. Like maybe my epiphany is I'm on the right track. Cool. Keep going. But I did think about it, and I really was deeply reflecting, and I'm like, I'm healthy. I'm good. I've got a lot of time that I feel like is like bonus time that I could have not had if I hadn't caught it so early. And so am I really doing everything I possibly can? Am I, loving everything that I can in my business and working with the people that I really want to be working with? And when I looked at my current clients, I work with these really large Fortune 10 clients, Fortune 50 clients. And I also work with entrepreneurs and small business owners. And I was like, when I think about what fuels me, the entrepreneurs and small business owners fuel me more than anything else. And for the longest time, I've been doing both in parallel. And I always thought at one point, I'll get to the point where I kind of give up the corporate clients, because let's face it, corporate clients pay incredibly well, right? And so at some point, I'll get to the point that I'll give that up. But I'm at the point now where I'm turning down the people I really want to work with because I have these corporate clients. And so I made the determination, you know what, instead of trading today for tomorrow, and I think this is where it came from, where I'm saying, eventually I will. It's time to make that change, and it's time to make that flip. And it's not that I don't love my corporate clients. I do. I love being able to influence change and transformation at that scale. But I just personally get so much more satisfaction and fulfillment from helping a small business owner or an entrepreneur and being so much closer to the impact. And so I made the change, and that was where the statement came from. So not sure where, really, just that's it.
That you need to trademark that. That is your thing. That is so huge. And it's like your head can help you make really great decisions, but your heart can also make you help really great decisions. And even though it might not look right on paper, what do you mean? Your corporate client's paying you X, Y, and Z, or whatever it is, but you're like, yeah, but that doesn't fuel me. That doesn't light me up. And I love that you said you started to ask, what fuels me? Because we know anything that we put our time and attention and love strategically into will grow. Mm-hmm. So if it fuels you to work with this other, coaches and consultant versus corporate, that will grow because it fuels you and you'll put your time and energy to that. It's what we were talking about before we hit record. It's how do you hang in that in-between period where you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. Oh my God, did I make the right decision? Yes, my soul is on fire, but my bank account is a little bit lower than I planned. What's your plan to get through this turbulent roller coaster of entrepreneurship that, we're on if you're an entrepreneur listening?
Yeah, I know. And because here's the thing, right? If I hated my corporate clients, it would be an easy decision. I'd
Right.
be like, I'm done, peace out. Like, I'm going to go do what I love. I'm not going to spend any time. But I genuinely like working with them. I just like working with entrepreneurs more. And I want to do things that fuel me more than things that don't fuel me as much. It's not like I'm choosing between good and evil. I'm choosing from good and better. And I think that can be really hard for entrepreneurs sometimes to make a decision like this, where you're giving up a pretty substantial and reliable revenue source in order to go out into something that's much less predictable and you don't have that same, consistency with yet. But for me, it was just, if not now, then when, right? Like, I do kind of feel like I've got this bonus time in a way. Like, I feel like I'm very lucky, and a lot of other people aren't lucky in the way that I am. And so I want to make the most of it. So I did more of an effort. I'm just going for it, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to figure it out. And I am a strategic planner. It's what I do. So of course I've got plans, but this is one of those times where sometimes, as you said, you can't always go with the logical thing on paper. Sometimes you do need to trust your intuition, and you just know when the time is right for something. And if we chat again in 6 months or a year, I guarantee you what I'm doing in, working with coaches and consultants and such is going to far surpass what I did in the corporate space, but I don't have an exact A to Z plan of how I'm going to get there. I just know generally directionally where I want to go. I know what I want to do and what I don't want to do. And I will experiment and try different things and make sure the things I'm doing are directionally correct and pivot as I need to. And again, I have full 100% confidence that it's the right decision and that it's the right move. But yeah, if you looked at it purely on paper, you'd say, you're giving up something that you like that pays you this to go into something that you just like more? Like what?
Oh my gosh. How do you choose between good and better? Oh, it's what fuels you, and if not now, when? I love that train of thinking, because as you have success and you get good, lots of opportunities come your way. There are a lot of things. It's not like in the beginning, and I don't know if your journey was like mine, where it's like you'll take anyone and help everyone because you just want to make money and you want to be profitable and you want to, prove that this business works and you want to get it on your feet, and you'll say yes to a lot more things in the beginning because you're like, I just want to learn and grow and do and be. Whereas when you hit a level of success, multiple six figures, or maybe it's not a monetary thing, it's a number of client thing or whatever it is, when you have a proven track record and you're good, you have a lot of opportunities that come your way. And it's like, how do you find that right yes? I love that you said it's not between good and bad, it's between good and better. And that's just such a mind thing, I think, for people to go, okay, but then what fuels me? And you said you're clear about your do's and you're clear about your don'ts. And I want to challenge you, listener, thinking about that. Are you clear about your do's and your don'ts? Because that helps make the decision-making process so much easier when you're clear about what fuels you, your do's and your don'ts, and how to keep that ecosystem, working for you. It's almost like you had like mortality motivation with getting breast cancer, right? Like, shit, I beat this? Like, frick, now what? Right?
Totally. I mean, I was infallible. Nothing was ever going to happen to me, right? I think we all think that. And my mom had breast cancer, so I always knew that it was a concern. But I was diagnosed 20 years younger than she was when she was diagnosed. So to me, it was like this distant concern. It wasn't anything that I ever thought I'd be dealing with now in my life. And so I feel really lucky. I know that sounds strange to say that I feel really lucky that I got cancer. It's not that, but it's like, I feel like a bad situation turned out as good as it possibly could have. So
it changes your decision making.
Mm-hmm.
Changes the way you see the world. Even that, if trading you're no longer trading today for tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's such a good mindset flip. Okay, now you have a jewelry business.
I do.
And it's interesting, right? Because I think as entrepreneurs as well, we get stuck in this, oh, I'm a X, and that's all I do. Or I have a very successful, I run the lean out method, I'm incredibly successful, I have these high paying corporate clients. When I don't want to work with them, I work with coaches and consultants. Okay, where does the jewelry business fit in? And what does that serve in your life? Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I'm this really weird balance of right brain and left brain. And it's funny, right? Because earlier growing up, I always thought like I was way too creative for the corporate space. Like everybody was such linear thinkers and kind of boring, and I'm very eccentric and just, like it didn't seem like it totally fit. But then if you look at, the creatives and artists, when I used to do a lot of like craft fairs and stuff, I'm way too business minded and way too organized and strategic for a lot of that crowd. So I used to feel like I never really fit in anywhere. And then at some point I realized that's my superpower. That's my superpower, is that I can blend the systems and the structure and the organization with the freedom and the fluidity and the creativity. And that's kind of what I can uniquely do in a way that a lot of other people can't. And so to me, I need both of those facets in my life. If I skew too much towards one, I start to go a little stir crazy. I've got to have both. And so even as I work with people with strategic planning, it sounds very, organized and everything, but to me, it's a highly creative process. I am, if we're in person, there will be a stack of sticky notes with me and I'll be drawing all over whiteboards. And to me, it's a very creative process, which I really love. Digitally, I've got my digital whiteboard tools that I use. But jewelry it kind of fuels my soul, right? I love to create. There's something about taking something in my mind that didn't exist before and turning it into something that is a real tangible product and something that other people wear and feel great in. Like there's just something really fulfilling about that for me. So I will probably always have a balance of both things. It may manifest in different ways in the future, but I can't imagine not doing one without the other, because that's just kind of me in a nutshell.
Oh, I love that. And I think you bring up a good point, though, of that balance between the strategy side and the system side, and then the freedom and the flow and the creative side. Because I find a lot of times, we sometimes we pigeonhole ourselves. Oh, I'm type A, or oh, I don't worry about money. I don't worry about money and systems. Like I just care about service. And it's like, you need both. Because I've seen a lot of really beautiful, heart-centered, service-based people who are real broke because they don't understand the systems and strategies and sales that come along with business. But then you also see the system strategy salespeople who you're like, do you even have a heart behind that like facade? Like, do you actually like care, or are you creative? Like, what happens if you lose your clipboard? Like, will you survive, And I just love that you have that blending of both, whether that's, listener, for you, whether that's another side of your business or it's a hobby. For me, it's been the piano. That's what I've been learning how to play. And when I'm working through something, I'll go and I'll be like, oh my God, I just need like 20 minutes to play on the piano. And the answer will come to me like meditation or like other things that we do. I think it's almost like an active form of meditation, whether it's making jewelry or playing piano or I love that. I love that you have both that right and left brain, creative side and freedom side, but yet they're not, oh, well, I'm creative when I do the jewelry and then I'm system and strategy when I do strategic planning. You bring both of them together in the thing that you're doing because that's you. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the cool thing when you see yourself as outside of the business. It's you coming in doing these business tasks and you're bringing all of you. Oh my gosh, I love that. I think if we thought more of our business like that, look at the places we can go and the things we can create when we step outside the box and give ourselves that freedom to be on both sides of that. Oh my God, I love that. So what would be getting clear? What would be the first thing you would say to someone if they're like, I'm not clear, like I think I'm doing too much, or I'm not doing the right things, or I don't know what I should focus on right now? right? Focusing on what drives maximum value, maximum profits. What if they're like, I don't know what that is, I'm just spinning my wheels? What do we tell them to do first? What's the first thing they need to do?
Yeah, absolutely. And so the method I created, it actually has 4 stages. And stage 1 is context. Stage 2 is clarity. You have to set the context in order to get the clarity. And so here's what's included in context. It starts with your vision. Then it includes your goals. So you want that long-term vision, and then you want your near-term goals. And then it's your business model. And I will tell you, this is the one place that I see so many business owners go wrong. And I help a lot of business owners with a session that I call Reimagine, which is helping them really reimagine their business model. Because if you look at their long-term goals or their long-term vision and even their longer-term goals that support that, and then you look at their business model, totally not in alignment. They ended up creating a business model because they thought that it was what they should do, or is what people in their industry did. It was what I did in my jewelry business early on. I did what I thought I should do and almost put myself out of business. But so often, if you really truly take the time to think about your long-term vision, and I think that is the first step and the most critical step, is you want to get that clarity of vision. That is going to help you know if absolutely everything that you're doing is directionally correct, long-term. And then short-term is whether or not it's important right now. And so first, set that long-term vision. And there's 3 different facets of that, which I'll share in a moment. But once you have that long-term vision, what's your 90-day goal? What's your main focus for the next 90 days? And when you look at all the different things that you're doing and it's on your plate and part of your day-to-day, if it doesn't align with the long-term vision, it should be cut. If it doesn't align with the near-term goals, but it's still important, it should be put on hold. So that way, only the things that you're doing in your day-to-day are aligned to your vision and goals. And so often it's like when I talk to people and they're like, I work so hard and I'm doing so much and I don't understand and I'm trying all the things and I'm just not growing fast enough, or I just can't seem to get past this mark. Without fail, if you look at what they and their team invest their time in, it is not actually the things that align back to that vision and goals, or their business model does not support it.
So it's like you can do all the things, you just can't do all the things now, and you just can't do all the things at once.
Correct. And so, yeah, you want that clarity on, like, first you need to know your context. Where are you going? Why are you going there? Why is it important? In those 3 facets I mentioned, there's your business itself. Obviously, what is that future vision that you have for your business? There's you. Because as small business owners and as entrepreneurs, we're very tied to our business. And I think if we try to separate them, that's when we end up out of balance and we end up really overworking and overwhelmed. You need to know what your own lifestyle goals are and what you want your role in the business to be. So I think you need to look at the business, you need to look at yourself, but then you also need to look at your customer. And this is the piece that I think a lot of people miss. When you think to the future, maybe it's 5 years, maybe it's 10 years, but how is your customer of tomorrow different than your customer of today? And what do you need to do to get there, right? Is your current customer growing and evolving with you? And therefore your business and your business model needs to grow and evolve to keep serving them? Or do you always work with startups, for example? And so customer acquisition is going to be critical for you because you're constantly needing to bring in new customers instead of ascend existing customers. And so this is the sort of stuff, when you think about that vision, that it's really important to include your customer, right? You don't have a business without them. Mm-hmm. So you've got your customer, your business, yourself, and that then helps you have a business model that actually aligns to that.
Those 3 parts are so huge. Because as you said, a lot of times we either miss ourselves in this whole process, mm-hmm. or you miss your customer in that whole process. Yes.
The irony is, I see some people miss the business in the process. They're so focused on themselves and their role that they actually aren't thinking about, what do I want my business to be known for in the future? What does my business do and how does it help people? They're just very focused on them. They're like, well, I want to do this. I want to make this much money. And they kind of forget about the purpose of the business is to help your clients with some sort of transformation or some sort of result. And they kind of miss that piece of it.
Yeah, because that external stuff, or even the internal, it doesn't sustain the feeling. Like external, like even that, trading today for tomorrow, like I'll be happy when I get that TED Talk. Okay, then you go and you do the TED Talk, and then what, right? I'll be happy when my bank account has $1 million in it. Okay, and then what? I'll be happy when people take me seriously and don't think I'm a joke. Okay, people are taking you serious. Now what? When you don't have your business and that transformation, like you said, it's not going to feel right. It's never going to feel enough. It's never going to feel enough, right? Oh, that's
so true. And we hit those milestones in our business. And early on, we put so much weight in them. We think we're going to hit this milestone and it's going to be like rainbows and unicorns. Things are going to be so much less stressful. And when I just hit 6 figures and then you hit 6 figures and you're like, okay, well, that wasn't it. Must be multiple 6 figures. And then you hit multiple 6 figures and you're like, well, that wasn't it. Must be 7. And it just keeps going. And it's like this constant moving target because it isn't tied to the milestone. It's all about how you structure and run your business, where you invest your time, what you actually do, and the team that you surround yourself with, and the systems, honestly, that you put in place that's ultimately going to give you what you're looking for. The freedom, the flexibility, those sorts of things. It's not the money itself. And I know that can be super, if you're not there yet, it's super hard to accept that that's true. But once you are, you're like, oh yeah, that totally didn't do what I thought it was going to do.
Oh, totally. I can remember the first time we ever raised our prices. And then we were like, oh my God, nobody's going to buy it. Like, and then people did. And then we were just like, oh, okay. Like we thought that would make us, because we're like, oh, well, at least if we're well compensated, like taking on the wrong clients, right? But we're like, at least if we're paid well, it'll help ease the pain. And then we got paid really well. And we were like, oh no, the pain is still there. We have money in the bank, but the pain is still there, right? So you're right. It's not always about the money. It's about your lifestyle. It's about the transformation. It's about the business, you and your customer, those 3 key pieces all together. And I'm a firm believer, and that's why you need help. That's why you need consultants. That's why you need coaches, because sometimes you're just so much in it that you're unable to have that like 30,000 foot view, or someone to literally come in and just start, like you said, with your sticky notes, like just start pulling things apart or brainstorming things or shifting things around so that you see it in a different perspective. That's why I think it's so important to have a team, to have a coach, to have someone like yourself, a strategist, a consultant, someone helping them pull it apart and rejig it or just get rid of it and start something new or fresh, right? So how can they get in contact with you if they want to know more, they want to reach out to you? What do you got for them?
Yeah, absolutely. So go to leanoutmethod.com, really straightforward, leanoutmethod.com, and you will find all of the things. And for those of you who love podcasts, which I'm assuming you do if you're listening, you can find my podcast at leanoutpodcast.com.
Awesome. I will make sure, don't worry if you're driving or you've got kids in your hand or you can't write down, you're on your lunch break in your car or wherever you are, you couldn't write any of that stuff down. I will make sure leanoutmethod.com is in the show notes that you have to go back to. Any Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, any social handles, I'll make sure that we have there so that you can reach out to Crista and get in contact with her. And thank you so much for sharing your mindset. I know you gave some real quality business building, strategic context stuff, but what really jumped out at me was just the way that you thought through all of these challenges and the way, your business and the way that you're doing things. I think when we can help people think about something different and make different decisions, things will start to fall into place. And I just want to honor you for the decisions that you've made, the choices you've made, and just your generosity in sharing all this goodness in our time together. So thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you, really. It was been a pleasure being here, and thanks so much for having me on.
You got it. And listener, thank you for being here. I know there are a bajillion podcasts that you can listen to, and I never want to take lightly your time. So hopefully this was of value to you. Let me know. Post, share this, tell us what was the most impactful thing that came out for you, and what are you going to do differently after listening to this podcast. podcast. Lisa@lisapezik.com. Send me an email. Let me know. I'll make sure that I go back to Crista and tell her what was the most impactful piece. And we will see you next time on The Lisa Pezik Show.